First question, we have dependencies on China, and how do you handle the dependencies when your relationship is very frictional? In a way, dependencies are very interesting because the customer is obviously vulnerable, but the supplier also needs the customer. So, who leverages whom is always is not a foregone conclusion. Having said that, I accept the fundamental vulnerabilities with a very excessive exposure outside India, which was part of the argument that I had made. And to my mind, the answer to that is that we really need to support our manufacturing in a much more sustainable way. I think we are getting it. The whole production-linked incentive scheme is an example of how you can, you take 12, 13, 14 sectors and say, okay, I feel here we have the comparative efficiency, we have the capabilities, we have the resources. Focus on that, give them the support to really build it up to that level. But we need to create within our own business class, within our own society, that sense of actually sourcing within. Because quite honestly, a lot of our businesses take the easy option out. I would share with you, even when our frictions with China on the border were very high in 2020, there were some businesses who were busy actually publicly complaining that, my supply chain has got disrupted. And I wanted to say, hello, my border is getting disrupted and you're worrying about your supply chain. So you have to get out of that mentality. And when I, look at Japan and Korea, we all know those big names of, in these two economies. Look actually how loyal they are to their domestic vendor chains. And that is really how you build up an economy. So to my mind, there is no short-term fix to that dependency problem, but there is a long-term fix. There's maybe even a medium-term fix, and it starts now. It actually starts yesterday. So until everybody can grumble saying I'm dependent. My answer is, so what are you doing about it? And the government is today doing something about it. It is supporting MS. If you, again, leave it to the, leave it to the market. I'm a pro-market person, but never fall for market fundamentalism. Market doesn't take care of a lot of issues. So MSMEs, it's like society. You can't leave the vulnerable to the mercies of God and rain. It is the state's duty to help the vulnerable. I think it is the state's duty to support MSMEs and to help create a culture of those, supply chains within the country. I don't think it is economic nationalism. I think it's common sense. The second issue was
the natural resources part.
Look, it is true. Different countries will have advantages on natural resources. On the rare earths, clearly China has a very dominant position. I'm not, I kind of have a general knowledge, understanding of that sector. I think a lot of it is many countries also shut down they were not willing to do the mining because that mining was not the nicest of businesses. So what happens in a market is if the market comes under stress, people will look at options which they may not have looked at when the market was not under stress. So it is possible that more sources may come. But again, look, it doesn't benefit the Chinese to sit on a heap of rare earths and monopolize it, because after all, they also have an interest in the world economy. China is today the nation which trades the most. So a trading nation, actually, as they say, you have the lender has a vested interest in the health of the customer, the person borrower as well, or the customer in this case. So I think that perhaps is more exaggerated. It is not without basis, but it is perhaps sharper than it should be. And you had a third one?
Third one was, can India be a genuine alternative to the rest of the world compared to China?
I don't look at us that way. I don't look at them that way. I don't look at the world that way. I think we should we should look at our prospects, not because we are an alternative to somebody. We have a vested interest in our own prospects. I mean, theoretically, hypothetically, if there was no China out there, should we therefore, not do our best? So I think we need to primarily do what we have to do for ourselves. Now, we also, need, even, again, I said this for our own reasons, to show that democratic alternatives deliver. I'm not doing it because there's a China out there. I'm doing it to actually validate Indian democracy and validate my choice. I made that choice in 1947 to go a certain way. I want to validate that choice. So, this is to my mind, a kind of a false contrast which is presented. And, there will be areas where, they will play to their strengths. There will be areas we will play to our strengths. But I do see, again, from the perspective of a foreign minister, I think today we have significant tailwinds. That if you look, especially post-COVID, if you look post-COVID, there is a great interest in the world in decentralizing in manufacturing, in having multiple centers, in having more resilient, more reliable supply chains. When it comes to data, as I said, trust and transparency is very. So I think there are possibilities out there which would be very natural to us, but we have to work hard to capture them.